Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome back to Milkweeds and Roses. I'm Lori, your Milkweeds and Roses gardener, here in a wintry Iowa day in Zone 5B in my garden. It actually is a beautiful winter's day outside. The snow has stopped for now. The temperatures are still, well, it's below freezing. But you know what? Now that the snow has stopped falling temporarily, the winter snow advisory is off, at least for the next several hours. So the squirrels and the birds are out on a feeding frenzy, trying to make the most of this break in the weather that they have. And I'm trying to make the most of this winter's day because I firmly believe that no matter what the weather, gardening never stops. That's because if you're not outside, actually in it, you can be inside where it's warm and making plans for when you return. And I've certainly got a lot of reasons to do that. This is the time of year when a lot of people are making their, New Year's resolutions and thinking about, geez, if only I did this, if only I could do that. I'm not that big on resolutions, but I certainly could say I've had a lot of lessons learned in the garden this year in 2024. And there are a lot of things that I would look forward to in this new year, 2025. To that end, don't you just love this time of year when you get the gardening magazines in the mail and there seems to be no end to them coming all the time? Of course, I love roses. Milkweeds and Roses is the name of this YouTube channel after all. But Heirloom Roses, Jackson Perkins, David Austin, Antique Rose Emporium, all kinds of things that I either get emails or I get the magazines from them. And I love these because I pour through them and I start to make plans. I order roses. I don't know where I'm going to put them all. But hey, that's what containers, and that's also, I've got my parents' garden too to think about, who don't live too far away. And their garden is just in the early stages. There wasn't anything there when we started, but now it was doing pretty well in their first year. So as they approach their second year, they'll be looking at, maybe expanding a few things. We'll see. The key there, of course, is it has to be manageable. I mean, they're 80 and 84 years old. God bless them. So it has to be manageable though. Low maintenance is the key. And they do have some deer pressure, less these days than they used to because there's been more development around there. But yeah, something to keep in mind. The main predators I have here in my garden are rabbits. Now, my two little dogs try their best to try to, scare them off, but they're inside dogs. And so they're not going to see them most of the time. So that means a lot of the plants that I choose have to be rabbit resistant. I mean, nothing's really deer proof or rabbit proof, but there are several things that they definitely don't like. And so that's what I'm looking at in 2025 is adding more rabbit resistant plants that thrive in heavy clay soil, all 4 seasons. If they're an annual, they're an annual, and you make the most of it when you can, and that's what containers are for, in my mind, for trying some new plants. But for perennials, increasingly, as I get older, I want more low maintenance plants. So that's what I'll be looking for in 2025. And also in 24, last year, I got into trying to grow some vegetables. I don't have space for a vegetable garden in my backyard, but there are vegetables and things you can grow in containers, like tomatoes. I would say those are fairly successful. The potatoes I tried probably weren't, but at least they fared better than the carrots I attempted. Oh man, that was abysmal. I don't know why. So I'm going to stick to only growing things that we like to eat. Now, my husband and my daughter, they love onions. I'm not so big on that, but onions, just like alliums, are good at protecting and thwarting rabbits and chipmunks and that type of thing. So it's a good thing to try to grow as a companion plant next to roses. And I'm working on a cottage garden, which means ornamental as well as vegetable, in spaces where I can. So I look at seed magazines here and Burpee. I've ordered a few things. So anyway, that's what I'm working on. And also we lost the emerald ash, or the ash tree to emerald ash borer this year. So we'll be looking at some types of trees, a big shade tree to put in there. And to that end, I've been scouting around at a couple of different arboretums. My daughter gave me this really awesome book for Christmas, the tree book. I love trees. She knows that's like, my thing are trees. I'd have them everywhere. I'd live in a forest if I could. But just in the meantime, I always love this. This is put out by the Smithsonian, but it's a historical look at some of the trees and different types of trees and how they grow, where they grow. It's really an interesting book. I also learned a lot from garden tours. My Master Gardener group went on several different backyard garden tours, and man, these guys got it down. Let me just tell you, there were a couple of things. I got some great ideas from some of these gardens. One was an Asian garden, and you'd never know it, an Asian garden, Asian themed garden, Asian fusion garden, really, right in West Des Moines. Beautiful. And what I took away from that garden tour was how you can tuck interesting little sculptural things, little feature things, feature plants in little nooks, to create a focal point, something surprising as you come around the corner. That just makes it interesting to me and adds a little bit of whimsy, and I love that. So I'm going to try to incorporate that into my backyard garden as well. A couple of gardens that I toured also had a fabulous tree called a yellowwood. And it's a nice big shade tree. It is more unusual. You don't see a lot of those around here, and I was kind of looking for something that would be hardy. Again, we're zone 5B here, but I'd like it if it was hardy for zone 4 at least. These winters can be brutal and unpredictable here in Iowa, and I'm looking at something that would be required to have full sun, but I like the look of that tree, and I saw it in 2 different gardens that I toured, and both of them were mature trees. And I guess they're called yellowwood because the wood used to be used to create yellow dye. And I think there used to be a lot more of these trees around. You just don't see them too often right now. But it has an interesting shape. And there aren't any known pests or diseases to those types of trees. Maybe that's because there's not a lot of them, I don't know. But they seem to grow pretty well. Some other garden things are just, again, to make the most of the space. Sage and daisies and pollinator plants. A diversity of plants ensures that the pollinators will come and there'll be something for multi-season interest. And that's what I'm looking forward to. For the most part, I have some great borrowed landscape, as we call it here. Some evergreens in the backyard from the neighbors just over the fence. Those are gorgeous all the time. We have some black walnut trees for the neighbor from the north. Again, beautiful sculptural trees this time of year. But it does those trees are known for putting a chemical called a juglone in the soil for as far as the root canopy reaches. And it serves to protect itself, their own species. They often are known for, that chemical is known for poisoning a number of other plants, so nothing else really thrives in its root zone. They're beautiful, I wouldn't change a thing, but it means I need to amend the types of plants that I'm growing. I put in a new garden bed in the last 2 years, so I thought if I could get some interesting plants to look out the window and maybe provide a little more privacy. And plus, as a gardener, who doesn't like to make the most of every little single inch you can grab? I do. I'm always looking for space to put something new in, to try something new. I mean, gosh, that's what I live for. It's awesome. And what else have I learned? I've learned that some of the plants that I've had in place, some of them for a long time, like my Autumn Joy sedum, I've got to cut back. They get long and leggy in this spot. A lot of it happens because there's a fertilizer drift that happens when the lawn service that we have comes over and treats the lawn early in the season. Some of that fertilizer gets sprayed on this, and that makes sedums leggy. So if I cut them back, I think that this, instead of flopping later on, by the time they bloom in the late fall, there'll be more flowers and a shorter stem that will be sturdier. Same thing with the hardy chrysanthemums, the hardy mums that I put in place, Red Dandy and the others. They're beautiful, but I just let them go in pots this first year, and man, did they go. They're tall and they flop. But they should be, in fact, cut back early and often so that there will be more flowers, shorter stems. They'll just look a little bit better. So I put a couple of these in the new garden bed that I have up front that I'm developing, where the ash tree used to be. I'm going to replant a tree in this area, but I'm putting some other things in there. And if there was a bunch of soft pink flowers here, I think that would be nice instead of just a long leggy thing that flops over. Same thing in the rose garden. The red penstemon here just got crazy. It's a thug. I did cut it back once, but really not hard enough and not early enough. I'm going to give that a try this year and see if it no longer becomes this beast that swallows things whole. Beautiful flowers. Pollinators love it. But it's just too much for this space. So I'm going to try cutting it back early and often and see if I like it here. If not, I'm going to have to move it because it just does not promote airflow in a rose garden, and that's a bad thing. For those of you who have roses, you know what I'm talking about. Some other things too, some iris. I am going to plant some more iris in here. It does love this spot. And a lot of reblooming iris on the market, so I look over at magazines and see what I might do there. That's what the winter is for planning, making plans. But the same thing with some roses. Here I need to work on, especially for the climbing roses, some horizontal pinning needs to be done, which promotes shoots that produce the flowers, because otherwise just up isn't real productive, as I found in Teresa Bunet. I usually have to trim it back quite a bit in the early spring because there's winter dieback. That's just the nature of living in a Zone 5B garden. But I'm trying to pin more of these shoots horizontally, so the hope is I get some flowers over this arbor, and that will look nice until the summer-autumn clematis comes in and covers the rest of the trellis, which is the goal here. That's in the plans anyway. And what else have I learned? Well, just to be patient, I guess. Perfection is the enemy of good. I'll have to look up who wrote that, but it's certainly appropriate. Nobody's perfect. No garden or gardener, for that matter, is perfect. Except maybe Monty Don. Now, he gets pretty darn close, But you just have to keep going, keep trying new things. And that's what I endeavor to do in 2025. So I hope that you join me. We're going to have a lot of fun things to look forward to here. Like I said, it can be like a long winter, a long slog. But there are some plants to pot up, some crafts that I'm looking forward to doing, some painting I'd like to get back at. I haven't done that in ages, and I'd like to get back to it. And I'm looking for botanical themed ideas and designs to paint. I'm looking at sprucing up. I've got massive organizational issues to work on in the garage, to organize all of my plant materials, to sharpen and clean my tools, my pruners, my loppers, my everything. It's just need to get it sorted and put away. Not just so it looks better, which will make my husband happy, but because it'll be more organized. And that is bringing a certain amount of zen to the space, which I think, let's be honest, can't we all use that right now? That would be great. So I hope that you join me. We'll have many adventures yet to come, even though there's snow on the ground. There's still work to do. So I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye. Oh, and Happy New Year.